sound great. So we're gonna go for a little tramp down this trail right here and see what we can find. Let's have fun. This was a trail I used to travel a few years back with an off-road group I was with. We had Jeeps and stuff. It was a good time. A lot of good people. Don't know if it gets used much anymore. But we'll go for a walk down ways and see what we can find. These nice little stumps. That was a go around we used to take when this water hole was a little too hard to deal with, or some people that we were with weren't equipped to deal with it. Lots of blowing down trees. Anyway, I'm going to tramp through here for a while, see what I can find, and see what we can find to test that knife with. Awesome little spot here. And that would be, at first look, something a beaver's dammed off. And if we look right here, there's your proof. That was a long time ago, but chewed down by a beaver. You see the teeth marks in it. And found a nice little bit of pine with some fatwood in it, so we'll be able to use that in a bit to do some battoning with. But just thought y'all might like a nice look at the spot here. Now, as we come up here a little further, we used to take the Jeeps through here. Oh, heard something in the water. So you can see this goes to both sides. This was a fun water hole to get through. I don't know how I'm going to get around it, but that's another problem. But you come in here and you drop down, and you drop down deep. So not many new people made it through on the first try. It's just a beautiful little spot. Anyhow, I am going to truck on and see if I can get around this hole, and we'll catch up with you in a bit. Okay, so after much looking about and considering, there was no way I was getting around that water hole without either getting wet up to past my knees, or the only way was to try and walk across the dam. And it's a very old dam, so I didn't trust that I wouldn't fall through in somewhere. And so we backtracked and gathered up a few materials, and now we're going to try and put that Benchmade knife to the test. So we'll start off with some battoning. I've got some pine, some spruce, and some birch I've gathered up over here. And we're just going to set the tripod here. Hopefully that works out well. And we'll see what we can do. Once I've done some battoning and whatnot, we might try and test out that fire steel and see if we can get a fire going with that. So hang tight and we'll get to it. Hey. All right, so we're going to start off with a piece of pine. You can see it's got a little bit of fatwood at the end, so it's going to make it a little bit tougher. I've created as stable a surface as I can, while at the same time making something we can see well with for filming purposes. Not proving to be the best surface, unfortunately. Gonna have to do something. This is too slick, unfortunately. My base is just sliding away on me. All right, we got through, but I may have to come up with a better base than that. So we're going to pause here while I try and come up with a better setup, because that is just too slick. Okay, I took the saw and scored the surface here a little bit. We'll see if that helps some. Go back to that same piece of pine we were using. Now this wood is all dead wood, stuff that either dead branches on trees or downfalls. So this is all fairly dry stuff. There, some better leverage. Some of that Fatwood. All right. Really nice fat one in there if you can see it. Some good stuff in there. Okay, there's our pine. Let's try the spruce. I'll put a twist to that. Yeah, not too bad on the pine. Next will be the birch. We've definitely taken off some of our razor edge. Oh, that feels tight. Yeah. We're still sharp, but we don't Don't have that razor's edge. So I'm going to pause for a minute. We'll set up for something else. Okay. So you can see, you just picked up a little bit of residue from what we've been doing. The edge, no rolls or deformations that I can see visibly. Still sharp, doesn't have that screaming laser edge, but it is still, I still feel some bite on it. So we're going to continue on with it as is and see what else we can do. So why don't we process down some of this fatwood a bit. Certainly still has a good edge on it. Do some worm groove. Alrighty, so after a whole bunch of filming, found out my mic died. So we're going to do a bunch of stuff over again. So mostly it was with the fire making. I think there was some processing too, so we'll have to redo some of that. But first thing we want to look at is the ferro rod. So I've got the ferro rod that came with the knife, and I brought an extra ferro rod just to be on the safe side, because I don't want to say it's an issue with the knife when it possibly is an issue with the ferro rod. So we're going to try two rods. First, we're going to try some tried and true old birch bark. I'm just going to scrape it up a bit. Create some surface area for the sparks to grab onto. Expose some of the various layers. Now, one thing I did notice in using the ferro rod that came with it, I don't know how well you'll be able to see this, but see the ridges on there? There, see that? It's like the knife is skipping across the ferro rod, creating ridges. I don't know if that's an issue with the construction of the rod or with the spine on the knife, but hopefully we'll find out. Okay, so First attempt on birch bark with the rod that came with it. Okay. With a beefier one. There we go. So the spine obviously is enough to create a spark that is going to work with a ferro rod. Now, for anybody wondering, I have a hole dug next to me, right full of water, so I can deal with all this stuff. It's very damp around here, so I'm not desperately concerned about starting a fire, but we will make sure we take every precaution. Okay. Now, I did lose, with the audio issue, some processing of Fatwood, so we will see if we can do a little bit more of that. So after the battoning, the knife did lose a touch of its edge, but it's still quite sharp. So we should be able to see that here. I'm just shaving away the outer bark on this side, and then the inner bark. Okay. So you can see there, we're going to do a good little piece of Fatwood. So let's see if the spine is square enough to scrape down some Fatwood. It's actually square enough because it's catching on some edges here. But I think it's doing a good job. Square this down a little bit. Just add a few curls to that. Alrighty. Let's see if that was good enough. Get us a Fatwood fire going. There we go. So we can shave some Fatwood down with it and get a fire going with Fatwood. Pretty awesome stuff, that Fatwood. Alrighty, how about some old man's beard? We'll try again with the original ferro rod. I want to keep going with my other one too to see if stepping issue is occurring with that as well. There we go. I'm going to be paranoid about losing sound now. Just for fun, let's try it with the other ferro rod. There we are. Okay, so I think I lost feather sticking in that other video too. So we'll try some of that. Now, as I commented in the other video, feather sticking is not my greatest skill, but I am getting there. Clean some of that gunk off here from the ferro rod. I always clean that stuff off. I'm good at making curls, I'm just not real good at keeping them on the stick. It seems to be gliding through quite well. Gonna try and let the knife do the work. Well, I think it's suffice to say, in the hands of somebody much better at this than me, it will make some wonderful curls and some really good feather sticks. So, for my ability, that's looking pretty good. And remember, that's after battoning through probably a 2-inch piece of pine with fatwood in it, an 1.5-inch piece of spruce, and probably an 1.5 to 2-inch piece of white birch. So, here's something we can try. Just one more step into the fire making. It's the little waterproof fire tinder packets I make. That is just either dryer lint or some cotton ball, saturate with Vaseline, stick it into just a plastic drinking straw, and seal up both ends. Always pack your mess out with you. And you just need to buff these up. There you go. Yeah, I'm fully satisfied with the ferro rod and that knife. I can get a fire going. So, as I try to remember what else I did in the videos that had no sound. We battoned, we've processed some fatwood, we've feather sticked, we've produced fire with various forms of tinder, and we still have a good edge. If we look here, I've got enough light to show you. There is no chipping or rolling on the edge. Still has a nice sharp edge. I'm out in the woods, I have no post-it notes, but next best thing, paper birch. So it is still plenty good and sharp. Is it shaving sharp? It is shaving sharp still. Great. So the Benchmade 202 Leuku, I'm happy with it. There were some concerns in the initial impressions video. One being, would it hold its edge very well? Because from what I've read, the CPM 3V steel being very tough, but it didn't retain a great edge, or didn't have great edge retention. But we've seen all I've done here and realize a lot of it I've done twice because of the issue with the mic going out. But I mean, you know, I showed you processing down one piece of fatwood. This is all the fatwood I processed previously, and a couple of feather sticks, more fatwood. So it has done its work. And we started multiple fires over a silent and And this one with the sound, using, like I said, various forms of tinder. Is the spine perfectly square? No. Could it use some squaring up? Yes. Will it work as is? Yes. So the one thing I'm going to play around with is that stepping issue on the ferro rod. I really want to find out if that's the knife causing that or just the material of that particular ferro rod. So I'm going to use this to tack a few ferro rods over and over and see what happens. So anyway, folks, I am going to call it there. So I am going to clean up my mess, leave it as close to as I found it as possible. And hopefully, unless somebody's looking close, they'll never know I was here. But I know I was here. And I love being here. Just look at all that out there. Just listen for a second. So peaceful and quiet. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it gave you a good taste of what this particular knife is capable of. Hey, buddy. I could make a 5-hour long video chopping a cord of wood with it, but you're just going to have to take my word that just from this little bit, I think it's a good knife. I think it'll hold up. I think it's a tough knife. I think it holds an edge good, and I think it'll take a bit of a beating. So, and you can probably rely on it when you need it. Anyway, folks, I hope you're enjoying your weekend. I hope you found a chance to get out in the woods like this, or at least do something you enjoy with people you enjoy spending time with. Yeah, I'll take care.